Most things in the world can be negotiated, so you should learn to do it well. Life is full of negotiations. Whether it's getting your kid to behave or asking your boss for a raise, anytime you try to influence someone's behavior, it's a negotiation. Almost everything is negotiable, like prices in fancy stores, mortgages, or even speeding tickets. Even the IRS can negotiate with you because, in the end, they're just people. Since negotiations are everywhere, it's a good idea to improve your skills. Sometimes, you just need to talk to the right person. In organizations, the higher-ups have more power, so if the lower-level people can't help, ask to speak to managers until you find someone with authority. When deciding to negotiate, consider if you're comfortable, if it will meet your needs, and if it's worth the effort. Learn to negotiate well because most things in the world can be negotiated. Lesson number 1. Avoid Soviet-style negotiators. They mistake negotiations for battlefields. Some people view negotiations like a game where one side wins and the other loses. This winning at all costs approach is used worldwide, and the former Soviet Union is a notable example. It's crucial to recognize and defend against such tactics. Soviet-style negotiators often start with unreasonable offers and resist making significant concessions. For instance, when trying to buy land on Long Island, they offered $125,000 for a $420,000 property. When the price dropped to $360,000, they saw it as weakness and only increased their offer to $133,000 later. They also employed tactics like using negotiators with limited authority, making it like you're negotiating against yourself. Emotional tactics such as bullying, walking out, or even crying are used to gain an advantage. Dealing with a Soviet-style negotiator, it's wise to consider walking away or exploring other options. If you engage, stick to your predetermined limits and stay calm despite any emotional tactics. Avoid these negotiators. They treat negotiations like battles. Lesson number 2. Collaborative win-win negotiations are possible when everyone's needs are identified and harmonized. In negotiations, some people think of it as a competition where everyone fights for their share of a fixed pie. This often leads to compromises, where both parties give up something. However, a better approach is finding solutions that satisfy everyone's unique needs without anyone losing. Instead of just focusing on what the other side demands, try to understand their underlying needs. For example, in a family vacation decision, desires for Texas, the Rocky Mountains, and the Great Lakes may seem conflicting. But by realizing that the son wants mountains, the spouse wants warmth and tennis, and you want a lake for swimming, a resort in Colorado can meet everyone's needs. Trust is crucial for successful negotiations. Without it, parties won't share their true needs or make concessions. So, building trust by establishing relationships and emphasizing shared goals is essential for collaborative win-win negotiations. Lesson number 3. Successful negotiation means tapping into the many sources of power at your disposal. In negotiations, both sides have different ways to control the situation. When talking to your boss, she can influence you by assigning tasks or giving rewards. In other cases, like when buying a fridge, your bargaining power can come from options, commitments, or using tactics like mentioning discounts or expertise. The real key in negotiations is not just having power but making the other person believe you have it. Successful negotiation involves using various sources of power wisely. Lesson number 4. Make it hard for the other side to say no, but guard yourself against this same tactic. Imagine you're still trying to buy a fridge at a department store. What kind of powers could you use to improve your chances of getting a discount? Instead of going straight for the model you want, you could ask the sales clerk to show you every single fridge in the store. You ask lots of technical questions. forcing him to dig up manuals for each model, and then you say that you'll have to think about it. The next day, you come back with your brother and ask the sales clerk to again demonstrate every model in the shop since your brother knows about fridges. After this rigmarole, do you think the sales clerk will be more likely to give you a discount? He sure will, because he's already invested several hours of time into you, and a discount will seem like a small cost to make the sale. Getting the other side to invest in a negotiation will make them more willing to grant concessions. If, on the other hand, you came to the store with your family, a sales clerk may instead try to sell the fridge to them. This is called getting commitment. Once your wife and kids are in love with a particular fridge, the sales clerk knows you pretty much have to buy it. In this case, you will be the one making concessions, not him. Thus, in any situation where there are several people on your side of the table, you need to ensure every member is committed to the common goal so that you present a united front. In the fridge example, this could mean discussing your family's shared goal before walking into the store. Make it hard for the other side to say no, but guard yourself against this same tactic. Lesson number 5. The distribution and sharing of information can greatly affect your negotiation success. Knowing what the other person needs, when they need it, and what limits they have in a negotiation gives you an advantage over your opponent. To get this information, start early. Negotiations aren't just one-time events. They're a process that begins well before you sit down to talk. Prepare thoroughly by checking things like budget constraints and learning about your counterpart's negotiation style. During the meeting, ask plenty of questions and, if needed, play it a bit naive to get more information, especially when dealing with an expert. Make them explain things in simple terms. Sharing information is a two-way street. Be strategic about what you reveal. Consider how and when you disclose details. When making concessions, remember that it not only affects the deal, but also exposes your negotiation limits. For instance, offering $100 for a fridge and then quickly jumping to $500 indicates you're willing to go even higher. How you distribute and share information can significantly impact your negotiation success. Lesson number 6. Deadlines can influence negotiations, but don't consider them absolute. In negotiations, time is crucial. Like students finishing term papers at the last minute, progress often peaks as the deadline nears. If your opponent has a noon deadline while you have no fixed timeline, you have the advantage. As their deadline approaches, they may concede more to secure a deal. When facing a deadline, weigh the consequences of exceeding it. Your opponents also have deadlines, making them more likely to concede as it approaches. Remember, deadlines impact negotiations but aren't absolute. Lesson number 7. When you negotiate, make it personal, but in a good way. In negotiations, making a personal connection increases your chances of success. Simply being decent and likable helps, but some skilled negotiators also gain sympathy by appearing vulnerable. For example, if a cop stops you, it's better to act like a lost tourist on the verge of tears than a know-it-all in a hurry. Likability is potent and can even outweigh logic. In court, juries may forgive someone just because the prosecutor seems unpleasant. Similarly, if you like a salesperson, you're likely to choose that store again, even if it's pricier. Being obnoxious backfires. It may cost you concessions privately and create a lasting enemy publicly. To stay personal positively, maintain a relaxed demeanor and imagine negotiating for someone else to avoid emotional involvement. Negotiate personally, but in a positive way. So, in summary, negotiating happens more than you realize, so it's important to get good at it. The result of a negotiation mostly depends on each side's power, time, and information. While some people try to win no matter what, it's also possible to negotiate for both sides to be happy. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Watch more videos by clicking on this video right over here.